If you want some 49ers draft talk following the NFL Combine, looking ahead to the 2025 NFL Draft at the end of April, this show is for you, and we provide for the faithful. Coming up, we're going to go through every single confirmed 49ers NFL Combine formal meeting, and in the process, we are going to hear from some of these Niners draft targets as well. Before we do all of that, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Couple of big dates coming up. NFL free agency getting underway on Monday. The NFL calendar has pretty much become 12 months out of the year. It's year-round, doesn't stop. And the 2025 NFL Draft, the first round gets underway on Thursday, April 24th. We'll be doing live shows all week right here on the 49ers Report for free agency. And then we will be live every single day, every single round, every single pick for the upcoming NFL Draft. As for these Niners Combine meetings, those of you who are real ones and you stay tapped into the show, we were in Indianapolis last week for the Combine, and teams are permitted to formally meet with up to 45 prospects who are invited to Indianapolis, but teams can also have an unlimited number of informal meetings as well. We had boots on the ground in Indy, providing you with great coverage and insight right here on the show. And a good way to really set the foundation for draft time, of course, is by looking at the Niners 2025 NFL draft picks. San Francisco needs to have a draft in April like they did last year, where they were able to select a lot of marquee players. Renardo Green, starter at corner, second round. Dominic Pooney, right guard, starter in the third round. Malik Mustafa, fourth round pick, starter at safety. Isaac Orendo has a lot of ability. Ricky Pearsall started to turn it on late in the year. He was the Niners' first round pick. He has a lot of potential. Jacob Cowing, with the trade of Deebo Samuel, he can be used in that kind of versatile way where if you get him the ball, he can create a little bit. He, too, has potential as a fourth round pick. So the Niners need to do this year what they did last year because they need talent, they need depth, and John Lynch even said it. We need a youth movement on this roster. So the Niners will first be on the clock with the 11th overall pick in the first round. Then they have an early pick in the second round at pick 43. Third round pick at 75 and at 99. That's a compensatory pick. Fourth round pick at 112. And then two more fourth rounders, 138 and 139. Compensatory picks as well. Fifth round pick at 148 via the Commanders. Sixth round pick at 189. And then 2 sevenths at 228 and 255. One by way of the Carolina Panthers, and then the other, another compensatory pick. So now let's run through all of the Niners' confirmed formal Combine meetings. And let's change the spelling there, Chip, if we can, for these Combine meetings on the title graphic. I reported some of these meetings and asking prospects, and then other reporters did so as well. So you have cornerback Brandon Adams of Central Florida, cornerback Zy Alexander out of LSU, offensive tackle Kelvin Banks out of Texas, one of the top offensive tackles in this draft class, wide receiver Isaiah Bond. He said that he was going to run a 4.2 40-yard dash and break Xavier Worthy's record. Didn't do that, but he did run a 4.39 4.4 40-yard dash. Then there's Jake Briningstool out of Clemson. Of this group here, let's focus in on Kelvin Banks. The Niners need to address offensive line this offseason, and they need to bulk up in the trenches. Kelvin Banks could be a guy who the Niners take with the 11th overall pick. I asked him if he had a formal meeting with the Niners and if they asked him about playing right tackle because he's primarily only played left tackle while at Texas.
Have you had a chance to meet formally with the 49ers?
Yes, I have. I met with them Wednesday.
How did that meeting go?
It was good. I feel like we connected very well. I was able to kind of show them what I know about the game of football, and then they got to kind of get information out of me about my personal life and then also what I know as well.
Is Trent Williams a player that you watch and mimic your game after?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I try to mimic my game after anybody. I want to kind of try to be myself, but he's definitely a player I kind of get tips from as well.
Did they talk to you about playing right tackle?
Yeah, they asked me about if I was willing to play any position on the line, and of course my answer was definitely yes.
Kelvin, what's your prediction for your 40-yard?
And Banks was really steady at left tackle for Texas, one of the top offensive tackles in the country. I worry a little bit about his feet at the next level. Sometimes he can get unbalanced too, and it seems as though once every 15 plays for his size. It shouldn't happen, but he finds his way on the ground. He did have a relative athletic score grade of 8.25. That was in the green. Good score from Math Bomb. All of these prospects are judged who do athletic testing from 0 to 10, so an 8.25 is not bad. He checked in at 6'5", 315 pounds. That's in the red and yellow there. Did have a good vertical leap, and he can move a little bit. The 40-yard dash north of 5 seconds. A good scheme fit. He's comfortable getting out in space on some of those pull blocks. His Pro Football Focus grades in 2024 for a Texas team that had success in the college football playoff expanded format. 86 overall grade. Pass blocking grade of 89.8. Run blocking grade of 81. Only gave up 1 sack. Did have 7 penalties. Really solid ability. He could be a really good player at the next level. I want to see if a good offensive line coach can figure out the errors or at least the worries that I have with his footwork. Then there's Jake Briningstool, tight end out of Clemson. He's had some really good production, and he was really happy with how his meeting went with the Niners. And, of course, all tight ends there, many of them at least, mentioned George Kittle.
Yeah, we had a really good meeting. They went through some of my film. They have a great tight end already, someone that's, been the best ever to play this position. So just being able to learn from him would be a dream come true.
Pretty steady production for him at Clemson, especially with finding the end zone. He had 7 touchdowns in 2024, 5 touchdowns in 2023, 4 touchdowns in 2022. As Cade Klubnik started to get it going toward the halfway point of the year for Clemson, Briningstool's production did go up. The next page of 5 formal combine meetings for the Niners. You have cornerback Cobee Bryant out of Kansas. I really like the player. Offensive tackle Josh Conerly. He could be a late first-round pick. Tight end CJ Dippre out of Alabama. Tight end Harold Fannin Jr. out of Bowling Green, who had more than 100 catches last year. And offensive lineman Miles Frazier out of LSU. For Josh Conerly, relative athletic score grade of 8.69. Pretty good there. And his 40-yard dash at his size of well over 300 pounds, 5.07. He can really, really move. And he, too, looked at as one of the top offensive tackle prospects in the upcoming NFL draft. Harold Fannin, we went to Bowling Green State University, and I know it's not the highest level of competition, but his production was insane, especially for a tight end. He was targeted 150 times. He had 117 catches, has the ability to pick up yak. Athletic testing numbers were really good. He's very explosive, 13.3 yards per catch, found the end zone 10 times, had those 4 drops. Next page here, running back DJ Giddens out of Kansas State. Cornerback Max Hairston out of Kentucky. Running back Omarion Hampton, North Carolina product. Wide receiver Trey Harris out of Ole Miss. He's a really good player. And then running back R.J. Harvey. With the uncertainty around Jordan Mason coming back because he's going to be a restricted free agent, some chatter at the combine, he could get traded. With the injury concerns with Christian McCaffrey, the Niners did meet formally with a few running backs in Indianapolis. And as we know, Kyle Shanahan will run through a lot of running backs in any given season. Omarion Hampton, really good testing. As far as the relative athletic score, 9.78. He weighed in at 221 pounds in the 40-yard dash, sub 4.5. He can really move, and the last 2 years, awesome production. 1,500 yards in 2023 with 15 touchdowns, and then 1,600 rushing yards in 2024 with 15 touchdowns. Found the end zone on the ground 30 times, is also a gifted pass catcher too. He had 38 catches for 373 yards and 2 touchdowns in 2024, and then 29 catches for 222 and 1 touchdown in 2023. R.J. Harvey, the running back out of UCF Central Florida, he was top 10 in 40-yard dash time for all running backs. He clocked a 4.41. He is a little bit shorter, though, at 5'8", but he did weigh in at a stocky 205 pounds. Good production for the Knights there in 2024. 232 carries, nearly 1,600 yards, almost 7 yards per carry. Has some pass catching ability as well. 20 catches for 267 and he had 25 total touchdowns and just 1 fumble. So good ball security there. Wide receiver Jaden Higgins, a player who I really like out of Iowa State. We'll hear from him in a moment. Cornerback Tommy Hill out of Nebraska. Running back Caleb Johnson. This is a very deep running back class. And you will be able to find some excellent running backs and ball carriers. Day 2, day 3. Caleb Johnson, one of the top ball carriers in this draft. Cornerback Will Johnson out of Michigan. Pass breakup machine. Big play maker. When he has intercepted passes, he's taken multiple back for touchdowns, and he met formally with the Niners. He's being mocked to San Francisco in a lot of mocks at number 11. And then there's tight end Colston Loveland, who's probably, in my opinion, the second best tight end behind Tyler Warren out of Penn State. Both of those players playing a big role in Michigan winning the national championship a couple of years ago. Jaden Higgins is tall, he's physical, and he loves run blocking. So I made it a point to ask him about that specifically because Kyle Shanahan loves run-blocking wide receivers.
You said you met formally with the 49ers. Kyle Shanahan loves wide receivers who can run block. What is it about run blocking that you like? Because at the wide receiver spot, sometimes that's not the most glamorous thing.
I would just say, run blocking is something that Noah Pauly installed in us. It's something we had to do at Iowa State. If you don't do that, you're not going to be able to play out there. So, it's just something that we had to do and just have that mentality to continue to dominate every day.
And as we know, Niners like to play bully ball. They like to beat you up. They like to play that physical style of football, and Higgins would help you accomplish that on the offensive side of the football. He was 6'4" with his measurements at the combine, weighing in at 214 pounds. Iowa State listed him at 225, but keep in mind, a lot of players shed weight for the combine so that they can run a little bit faster, and at that size, he ran a 4.47 40-yard dash. Because of that, may have climbed up some draft boards. He might be a round 2 selection there. Good vertical, a good broad. In 2024, 87 catches for nearly 1,200 yards, 9 touchdowns, only had 2 drops. He can really flourish with some of the back shoulder balls. Also, he can be a red zone threat. Climb the ladder, go up and get it. In 2023, 53 catches, 983 yards, 6 touchdowns, and only 1 drop. And then prior to going to Iowa State, he played at Eastern Kentucky with some good production there, limited drops. Of note, in that clip that I mentioned, he said that Noah Pauly, the Iowa State wide receivers coach, really instill in them run blocking and then blocking for your other pass catchers. Well, the Niners interviewed Noah Pauly for their vacant offensive coordinator role back a few months ago. Jaden Higgins and then Jalen Noel, 2 really good wide receivers for that Iowa State program. We move on. Linebacker Nick Martin, Oklahoma State, meeting with the Niners. Offensive tackle Armand Membu, one of the biggest winners out of Mizzou throughout Combine weekend because how he tested athletically. Quarterback Graham Mertz out of Florida, safety Andrew Mukuba out of Texas, and then defensive tackle Walter Nolan, one of my favorite players in this draft class. Explosive, quick, physical, good run-blocking defensive tackle, good pass-rushing defensive tackle. I think 11 is a little bit too early for him. If the Niners move back, though, he could be a target at some point in the first round. For Armand Membu, it's a little bit shorter. At 6'4", but a little bit shorter because some teams want tackles who are a little bit taller than that. And some teams worry about his arm length. I'm not worried about that. Playing in the SEC at right tackle, which is what the Niners need, he shut down some of the top pass rushers in college football. And then the athletic testing at the combine, it was freakish.
That was a fun meeting.
Can you expand on that?
Just watching film and just talking ball.
Trent Williams, obviously one of the best left tackles of all time. Is that somebody who you model your game after, and what would it be like to play with him?
Yeah, it's fun watching Trent, but at the same time, he's a freak, so I can't really try to mimic the things he does, but I definitely love watching his game.
You went up against some of the top pass rushers in the SEC last year, and you shut a lot of them down. What allowed you to do that?
I say first it starts in practice, so just my preparation in practice and just watching film, dissecting opponents, and then taking that to the game field.
And so he was 6'4", 332 pounds at the weigh-in, 9.82 relative athletic score grade. The explosion is there, though, and that's important for an offensive tackle. In the run game, in the pass game, getting into your pass sets, 34-inch vertical is stupid at that size. Really good broad. He predicted on Saturday that he was going to run a 4.8 40-yard dash. He clocked a 4.91, but he clocked a 4.91 at 332 pounds. The speed that he reached was similar to a Tyreek Hill long touchdown this year. He's 332 pounds. Tyreek Hill is a tiny guy, and his numbers check out. And I think that he is a sure thing. And with the athletic testing that he had in Indy, he might end up being a top 5 pick, honestly, and might not even drop to the Niners, which seemed crazy going into Combine week. Overall PFF grade of 90.4. Pass blocking grade of 85.4 for Mizzou this past year. Run blocking grade of 87.6. No sacks allowed and only 4 penalties. Niners also meeting with cornerback Jacob Parrish out of Kansas State. Defensive end James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee. Offensive lineman Holland Pierce out of Rutgers. Cornerback Quincy Riley out of Louisville. And Texas A&M zone defensive end Nick Scourton. And James Pierce is a player who has some character concerns around him. Good production at Tennessee. Some teams believe that he could slide to the late first round. Some people have him mocked to the Niners at number 11 because he's twitchy, he's fast coming off that edge. He did say he's comfortable with playing with his hand in the dirt. Interested to see what teams think of him as far as this character concerns, but he's worthy of being a top 15 pick. We'll see if a team takes a swing. Then there's offensive tackle Josh Simmons, who's coming off a pretty major surgery to his patellar tendon. Really good player for Ohio State. Defensive end Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M. Tight end Mason Taylor out of LSU. Shamar Turner of Texas A&M. They're just churning out defensive linemen at this point. And then running back Bashal Tutin out of Virginia Tech, who ran the fastest 40-yard dash in Indianapolis. Mason Taylor, the son of Jason Taylor, the Hall of Fame defensive end for the Miami Dolphins. He, of course, had high praise for George Kittle as well.
Yeah, I love watching George Kittle. Like I said, priding myself on being that complete tight end and him doing everything for an offense, that answer in the run game, pass game, and protection, and how he has fun with the game, how it's just a football game at the end of the day. He's throwing guys on the floor, catching touchdowns, and enjoying it, and that's something I look up to. And him being that complete tight end, I try to resemble my game after that.
Have you met formally with the Niners?
Informally.
Taylor could sneak into the back of the first round. I think he's more of a day 2 target. The Niners working on a contract extension with George Kittle as he enters the final year of his deal. If they don't strike a deal with Kittle, do they look to draft a tight end early? 55 catches on 79 targets last year for Taylor. Fluid mover, good feet, gifted pass catcher, really smooth, 546 yards, 9.9 yards per catch. 2 touchdowns and only 1 drop on those 79 targets. Going back to James Pierce, good sack production the last 2 years. 7.5 sacks in 2024, 10 sacks in 2023. Look at those pressure numbers, though, in the games played. 55 pressures this past year, 52 pressures before that. Really came on his last 2 years in Knoxville. Wide receiver Antoine Wells Jr. out of Ole Miss. Wide receiver Ricky White out of UNLV, defensive tackle C.J. West out of Indiana, and wide receiver Savion Williams out of TCU also had formal meetings with San Francisco. Antoine Wells, Juice Wells, that's his nickname, did tell me he met with the Niners, East-West Shrine Bowl. Maybe he told somebody else that he met with the Niners' formal interview. It's also difficult for these guys to remember all of the meetings that they have in the short amount of time that they're at the Combine, trying to fit everything in. Want to focus here on Savion Williams. If the Niners want to draft a Deebo Samuel replacement and use a player in the way that they use Deebo, wide back, carries, gadget guy, Savion Williams can be that player because TCU had a specific Deebo-like package for him. The thing is, Savion Williams is more in the build of Cordero Patterson. He's a lot bigger than Deebo, and he's been told that he would be a great fit for the Niners.
That would be the same, like with the conversations I've had, like that would be probably, people tell me probably almost like a best fit almost, because that's how they use Deebo and move him around and do different things.
Have you had a formal with them here at the Combine?
I think I have, yes I have.
Some concerns with him is that he's not a great route runner, and obviously Deebo Samuel, not a great route runner either, but TCU had him listed at 6'5", 212 pounds. He does have a good contested catch rate, nearly 90%. He also had some drops. So those are things he's going to need to work through. But the production was certainly there. 60 catches, 611 yards, 10.2 yards per catch, 6 touchdowns, 8 drops. I hate the drop numbers there, but you know what I love? The versatility. Because TCU gave him 51 carries for 322 yards and 6 touchdowns. So he had a combined 12 touchdowns. Back shoulder fades, he does look comfortable with those. Jump balls in the end zone, looks comfortable with those. So I think that he can continue to grow. And I'm not saying that the Niners need to draft a Deebo Samuel replacement. They may have gotten rid of him because they want different prototypes at that wide receiver spot. More gifted route runners and pass catchers who are true wideouts. But if they're looking for a Deebo replacement, Savion Williams can be that guy. If he falls to the 3rd round, I'd take him. So I want to know, which prospects have you fallen in love with after the NFL Combine? Let me know down in the comment section. Still have a great deal thanks to our friends at Fanatics with this Niners polo. It was $80. Now it's on sale for just $43. The link is down below, chatsports.com/49polo.